What's up, guys? I just finished such a good booty workout and I wanted to share it with you. So I don't know about you, but I've totally been slacking on building my butt and doing the specific moves that build the booty, give it a lift, and that round shape tone. And it's not squats. It's actually a combination of hip thrusting movements and hip extensions. So I know so many ways to do these unique, effective moves. And so this is just one of many that's gonna come. And at the end of this workout, I was so sore. I was gonna do some hamstring accessory work, but I was done. So make sure to give this video a thumbs up and check it out. All right, first up, we're going to activate the glutes with a quadruped hip extension with a slight external rotation from the hip, meaning point your toe out to the side, keep your core really tight and as low as you can to the ground, and squeeze and contract your glute to lift your leg. Keep your leg straight, slightly externally rotated from the hip. This is a great marker to see how well your glutes are firing. I did 20 times one side and then 20 times the other. And as you can see, I'm pretty crouched down, and that is the ideal. If you've never done this before, you will find that quite challenging. It will be challenging to lift the leg. Next up, we have a barbell hip thrust, and the key to this one is putting your low ribs on the bench instead of just your shoulder blades. Studies have shown that putting your lower ribs onto the bench will activate more glute muscle fibers. My feet are pretty wide, my toes are slightly turned out to really maximize the full contraction at the top of the hip extension. And then I held it and pulsed it for 10 right here, after doing about 15 repetitions. All right, next up, we have a sumo deadlift with kettlebells. So this is all about the hip hinge. This really takes the quadriceps out of the equation. And my feet are slightly externally rotated, as this allows for a complete gluteal complex contraction. From here, squeeze your sit bones together. Let them expand as you bend forward, really focusing on your hip hinge. So the knee is just accessory. It's not the main joint that's moving. The main joint that's hinging is your hips. Pushing into your heels. If anything, lift your toes, especially right at the top, right there. Open your sit bones wide and then contract them, squeeze them together. This is one of my favorites. It just really burns, really hits the hamstrings and the glutes and the low back to really tighten and tone your waist from the behind. All right, and now we have a back extension. This is a little bit more of a glute hamstring extension just because this was adjustable. But from here, my feet are wide and my toes are turned out. And as I lift up, I push my hips into the pad and once again squeeze my sit bones together. So the more mind to muscle connection you can get into your sit bones, allowing them to expand and then contract really hard, squeezing at the top, getting the whole gluteal complex, the maximus, the medius, the minimus, the more you're going to see those results. You will feel this in your low back, but it's just assisting. Next up, we have a barbell sumo squat deadlift. So some people would consider this a Romanian deadlift. I consider it a little bit more of a squat. My feet are wider than shoulder width apart, toes slightly turned out. Once again, really focusing on that hip hinge, squeezing, contracting at the top. And I'm not leaning back through my low back. This is all from my glutes, really focusing on my glutes, pushing into my heels, bringing that power and channeling it up into my glutes, squeezing my sit bones hard at the top. So this is the front position. Check out my feet, how they are turned out, really pushing my hips forward. But that comes from consciously contracting and squeezing my glutes together, the very top of my glutes, my medius and my minimus. That's what you want to get in there. Imagine like it's a really windy day and you're squeezing a $100 bill between those cheeks. That's what you want. All right, next up, pull throughs. You might get some looks doing this one, but you know what? They are so effective, you just shouldn't care. So once again, feet are wide, toes slightly turning out, pushing into your heels, hinging at your hips. Spine is not extending or flexing. Really try and get, once again, into your sit bones, allowing them to expand and then contract. Squeeze your glutes. And note the position of the cable there. All right, this is a diagonal hip abduction. So it's not straight out to the side, it's slightly back on a diagonal to really get the gluteus medius minimus and a little bit toning the top of the quadriceps. And then I finished off with a few mat movements. This is a laying abduction with a band with a reverse crunch. And as you do the reverse crunch, push your knees out just to get those hips a little bit more. I find this is really slimming for the hips, as I tend to really build a lot of bulk in my quadriceps. So after any sort of sumo squats or deadlifts or anything, I do this and it really helps to keep the front of my quad, especially the top of my quads and my hips, from getting too bulky. And then with the band, I did quadruped hip extensions. Once again, slightly moving away from the body on an external rotation. And really keeping your core tight, shoulders pressing down and back, abs nice and tight, spine is straight. Really generate that power into your palms and down your spine to isolate your gluteus medius and minimus. Squeezing your abs each time you lift so that you're not pushing your belly outwards. Moving on your exhale. And then other side as well. I did 20 repetitions both legs. I was pretty tired at the end of here. And that was my workout. I was done after this. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you are subscribed for more booty gain workouts. There will be lots to come.